What's going on? That I know about. Busy.
So, Sandy will start when she's ready, and we will go from there. How about a round for our first person?
I do feel really welcomed. It's really nice to be here in this format. Everything gets aired out on the clothesline. Laundry is just the obvious thing. While hanging out clothes, the first to come to your senses is the smell of the sun-laden air and the breezes that move it from here to there. Then, when the scent and light are accepted, you decide how you'll start, from left to right, like reading a book, or the face of an old friend. You pick up a pen and reach for the first wet item to begin. Look up to the line and feel it with your fingers. Bend one corner of the clothing to meet its strict tightness and commit it to the line, which will be its destination for quite some time. Left to right, heavy to light, long to short. There's a leaf on the line for you to transport, whisking it to the ground. A buzzing goes by, a bee or dragonfly, depending on the time and place in the sky. When your basket is empty and pins are all gone, the line may droop, but all spaces are gone. The sun takes over, time takes over, the breeze has a way of making clothes sway. You steer back to look and admire your line. The sun is fine, the air sublime. Birds sing the day by until your clothes are all dry. Then you go to undo your work, from right to left, from left to heft. From day to day you wash away all things that don't stay, that wash away. And into the clothes you will step once again. You'll walk out into the air while the moisture is fair. And on the very next wash day, what you wore will at last again be aired. I happen to go to the UU church, and they have a beautiful bowl of sand where you put a candle of a joy or a concern. And one day, when I was trying to pay such good attention, this is what happened while in church. In the church where I go, we light candles. We place them in a clear bowl of sand. Some are for joy and some are for concerns. And the last one, in silence, stands, gazing through windows out to the sky, at the choir, a songbook with a tie. My eyes were drawn to the 7 candles, and the lights of their flames filled my eyes. The candles' bright fires shone deep in my face as white golden light drew me closer in. They asked nothing of me, but to know they were there. And soon I saw nothing but them. Drawn to the candles and fixed on their glow, the dancing shapes had me mesmerized. Yet I still heard the sermon, can we live here and now, though distracted by worries that thrive? Could the candlelight reach me more deeply than that, burnishing a soul that, like a candle, stands tall? The candle's flames in the here and now are really the eternal Creator's glow. And now, each new page. Another word, another phrase, another world, another phase. How long will it take you to grasp the muse, just in time for a turn in the plot that was used? New chapters overlay old ones, drift away or transform to weave themselves into the ones not yet born. Each new page is turned one by one, from islands to espionage and business undone. In variance, rapture, and subtle demise, from friendship to betrayal or a ringing surprise. You live in the book, stay in the throes, love the loves and hate the foes. You dig for answers from astonishing clues, and you take the time to see how it goes. You make up your own mind or ponder the land, make up an ending out of what's at hand. You follow the style and believable lines, and you feel how your heart has become entwined. You are the hero, the foe, or the saved, the scapegoat, the desired, or the remonstrative knave. You drift back to your own life, nowhere nearly done. And you see the two stories meld into one. You close the book and walk out on the stage and live your life on each new page.
Sandy, you're able to stay a little for others?
Yes.
Or?
You have to send a book.
Okay. I put my name on it already.
Oh, you did?
Should I say
Need
something
someplace
else? Like, thank you?
Whatever.
What I did forget to mention, which is important, is we have the luxury of being recorded on WCTV so that we all get the wondrous and dubious pleasure of watching ourselves supposedly as others may see us. It can be wondrous and horrifying. In any case, though, we do want to thank Macy for doing all that. Thank you, sir. And you feel like coming up? If I have it right, folks, this is Ann Bauer.
You got it.
Thank you.
One of the things I like about coming here is to try out new poems. So that's what's happening. It's a trial. I hope it's not a trial. And as some of you know, I do and teach Tai Chi. So this first one's called Tai Chi with Gnats. Our small patch of land dips and slopes. Garden rows cover what's level, but I've two gravel driveway level. Let me start this again, sorry. Our small patch of land dips and slopes. Garden rows cover what's level, but I've two gravel driveway spots that allow reasonable Tai Chi practice, each clocked by shadow at some point. And this steamy early September morn, my routines near our cars and our neighbors' right of way. So my young 24 forms has two distractions. Billy's truck, loaded with pig food, that forces me to pause at White Crane flashes its wings, and later when he returns, fan back. And I've a constant veil of gnats I try to ignore. No, accept. Admire for persistence. Try to hear their miniature high-pitched whine as gentle commentary or song. It's their world as much as the brown thrashers and the crows, the maples with their millions of leaves, the limestone and bluestone, chipmunks, voles, mice, woodchucks, the roaming deer and clattering turkeys. Great concept, this acceptance, but my wrist flicks when a gnat gets too close to my eye or lands on my jaw as if to bite. I can't help myself, can't keep my head from shaking them off as I turn for the final punch, Yang's last few steps, and the return to Wu Chi, that quiet space of balance and calm breath, though the gnats remain. It was a struggle. Okay, this one, some of you might know Elizabeth Bishop's poem, One Art. The art of losing isn't hard to master. Okay, so I've always loved that poem. I think it's brilliant. And then I discovered it's what's called a villanelle, a very, very strict form. So a villanelle has 5 verses of 3 lines each, and the first and third line of the first verse get reused in subsequent verses, and the last verse has 4 lines and uses both of those, the first and third. And in addition, you get 2 rhyming sounds throughout the whole poem. So your end rhymes can only have 2 sounds. So this was a real challenge for me because I don't normally do rhyme or anything like that. So the other thing I want to say, and this sort of resonates with something Yash has asked me to do, is I'm not a spiritual person, but people always think I am because I do Tai Chi. So, Old Mother Earth. Beneath my feet, this solid ground, though others seek force spiritual, Old Mother Earth rolls round and round. To work my garden's soil I've found works me, though it's the earth I till, beneath my hands, this solid ground. In Tai Chi's forms, no song, no sound, slow steps with movements gradual, Old Mother Earth rolls round and round. Imagination and memory without bound, time-traveling brain waves, totally magical, yet neath my feet, this solid ground. And this worn body, pound for pound, you're hanging in, and will, until Old Mother Earth rolls round and round, brings simple death, nothing profound, whirring, natural turn of the wheel, beneath my feet, this solid ground, Old Mother Earth rolls round and round. Kind of fun. This poem is made up of 3 separate poems that I decided went together. I don't know, maybe. Process. 1. After gathering blackberries, moving slowly, pushing aside long thorny stems to pluck the swollen fruit, so ripe they often fell into my palm, after plucking heavy green peppers from their plants, cutting kale that returns its gray-green leaves thick and lacy, purple eggplant too, the long thin ones, cucumbers, and the inevitable zucchini. Bounty and bright sun have sent me indoors for kitchen hours, cutting, chopping, mixing, boiling, straining, simmering, stirring to preserve what sun and water and labor make possible. Tastes of summer, when blizzards and short, dark days replace all this green and gold. 2. Words will fall like these leaves, brown, orange, golden, food for next year's growth. 3. Crows, ravens, blue jays will still fly through season of bare wood, raucous, sharp-beaked, winged determination. I don't know, do they go together? Kind of, sort of, maybe? Wood. Winter's been delivered this August day. 2 cords of wood, meddlesome pile, mountain of logs we need to array in tidy stacks, though we'll lack style of old Vermonters, whose freestanding walls bear to all weathers stand sculptural guard, declarations of order against wind, ice, dark, torrents, metal roof strips on top, weighted with ponderous stones, proclamations of effort, gradually whittled to feed wood stove, warm, tired muscles, heat up soup, until the stacks dwindle and days grow longer again. Okay, one last one, and it's short. So, some of us hope to get our work published. And so we send things out. And mostly what we get are rejections, lots of rejections. They come and they come and they come. And then, maybe once in a while, you get an acceptance and something gets published and you feel great. And then you get more rejections, right? And so you keep just pegging away. That's kind of what this is about. And there are lots of us. There are lots of us poets. We're all over the place. 10,000. That's the title of the poem. 10,000. And that's an underestimate for sure. 10,000 poets. Scribbling, typing, chanting, blogging, tweeting, linked, alone, in pairs, in taverns, in trouble, in parks, in prison, intrepid, insane, insomniac. At a bar, a workshop, a reading, a festival, a table, a desk, a counter, a wall, at play, at rest, attractive, attacked. Poems fly from their fingers, their lips, small paper boats, each bearing a flame. Night or distance or waves can drown.
And do you have any more? Because we have a small group.
Nope. I didn't bring either of my chapbooks. I don't know. I might find one in my little notebook eventually, but there it is. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have another hand, please. As I was just saying to Anne, since we have a relatively small group, please feel free not to get too compulsive with the time thing. We could use to stretch it a little. All right? Josh is giving me I think it's the thumb, or is that the finger? Which was it, Josh, or did they kind of merge?
It was the thumbs up.
Oh, thumbs up. That wasn't okay, good. All right. Just if it helps any of you in your own order, I'm going to go last so that people have certainly quicker opportunity. Yash, why don't you share your voice with us?
All right.
Do you have hesitancies?
Are you kidding? I don't.
Okay.
Are we doing this one first?
No.
Okay.
Does this mean, by the way you're saying it, that maybe I have to rescind that
Yes.
10-minute limit?
Yeah.
And everyone's going, yes, you cannot go,
No.
you
Well,
cannot go over 20 minutes.
maybe because
We can do a duet. Let's start right now.
well, I already have a duet lined up.
Woe is me, my soil
But she may not. She
shall
may
leave
not.
the party.
She may not want to because she.
Is she
I didn't hear the last poem because I was just. Yeah, Anne. Because I was.
Oh, do you want a break between voices? I can easily, that's not set in
No,
stone. Would
no,
you
no.
like to-
That's not the issue.
No, that's not the issue.
What, I think most of us would like to know what is the issue.
Yeah. So the
Since
issue.
we're in a public
I've
forum,
lined.
hands-on, no.
It's a hands-on.
I've lined Anne up to be the voice of God, which seems appropriate.
Oh,
Seemed
This
appropriate to
calls
me.
for a commercial break, I'd say.
Yeah.
At that juncture
Well,
like
Peter
that.
Fox-Smith was. I asked Jim.
Oh, so you have
he
a
said
play
no.
lined up.
Well, it's a little play, but
But you
but
want-
here I've just been thrown for a tumble because Anne says she's not a spiritual person. So the thought came to me.
It's a play, Yash. Actors can do things they don't really perfectly feel. And
It's
let me just
confusing the
throw
issues.
in, even if Jim didn't want to, you may want to think twice about asking me, given what's going on. You want to go to commercial break or stay
No.
home?
No.
So,
Well, it's up to Macy. Macy, you can edit all this
No.
out.
no,
But,
Gracie says
Anne,
you're
I
on
was
your
just
own,
thinking of
boys.
what you say. I'm not
It
a
won't bother
spiritual
me.
person.
No, so
Okay,
what
good.
is the issue?
Could
sir? I
you
don't
please
mean.
be quiet? So,
Oh.
so the thought came to me, well, if I asked Anne, does she have a spirit, what would be her response? And so I'm kind of,
Well, my poem is the response.
you have a spirit.
Well, everybody has a spirit.
So you are a spiritual person.
In that sense, I suppose so.
Amen. sister.
But I don't have a force outside myself,
We're
spirit.
going to watch
I don't know if I do
this
either.
play out.
Mhm.
Which is,
That's interesting. Okay,
I
let's
don't
go.
know. I don't know if I do either. Well, no, I do, because you're outside of me, and you're a spirit. So,
Okay.
but I guess I'm aware of you within myself. All right,
It's not a supernatural.
Well,
I was
this is
Whatever that
talking ghosts or
whatever that means. All right, thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
But your
is
poems
it
were great,
okay if I speak?
Yes.
Okay. I think it's admirable to take the risk that probably most of us have enough of a spiritual dimension to afford you what you need, whether we label ourselves it or not.
Nice. Well put.
Oh, just a
Well put.
thought.
Yeah.
So, are we ready?
It's just a word.
Whose word? God's word? Our word?
That's a good point.
Shakespeare said words, words, words. Which
All right.
says, shut up, Bob. Let him do his thing.
All right.
Can we have a hand for Yash, please?
So I'm so glad we've rescinded the 10-minute rule, because I have these questions, and I like looking into them, and I like thinking about them, because it's just who I am. I suppose that's why I tackle spiritual subjects. That said, to get to my poems as an introduction, I am still so excited about Rilke. His next sonnet, the sonnet I'm about to recite tonight, builds on his previous sonnet in just an incredible way. But what I find is everything that he says in the poem is by no means visible to our understanding until you read it, and for me, recite it to myself a number of times. And as I do so, the richness of the poems, the dimensions just keep getting bigger. And one of the things I liked so much about, actually, Caroline, can I borrow the sonnets to Orpheus? As a young woman asked, this one's, the translator, who I think really gets Rilke, this translator, M.D. Herter Norton, tries to follow the actual words of Rilke as closely as possible. And he justifies that by saying, by being so literal, he says, perhaps this appears like an evasion of responsibility on the translator's part, on his part, a confession that a difficult task of interpretation has been shirked. For interpretations may be suggestive, even if they often put a strain on the original. To a lady who had sought to understand one of the sonnets by calling upon the idea of the transmigration of souls, Rilke wrote, "You are thinking too far out beyond the poem itself. I believe that no poem in the sonnets to Orpheus means anything that is not fully written out there. Often, it is true, with its most secret name. All allusion, I am convinced, would be contradictory to the indescribable being there of the poem." And that, I don't know of anybody that brings me so into the poem and in which I so forget myself, so that I am being there and the poem is fulfilling itself within me as Rilke. So to that, with that prelude, I wanted to say I found another book of translations by the same translator, and there was this lovely, lovely poem right in the beginning. It's one of his first poems that he wrote, which he thought later as being somewhat juvenile, but I thought it was fantastic. And it gives this wonderful sense of being there, and it's, here it comes. Thou, my sacred solitude, thou art as rich and clean and wide as an awakening garden. My sacred solitude, thou, hold shut the golden doors before which wishes wait. Okay, that's it. The next poem is, I think, the fourth sonnet to Orpheus. And I know that what happens in the sonnets to Orpheus is that we are drawn into the address to God, which is Orpheus, okay, a pagan god, Bob, I hope you're not shocked. Actually, not even a pagan god, a human. And we become one with Orpheus, and his spirit, as far as Rilke sees, is all-encompassing. It's always perpetually around us. It's so exciting. This is the way it goes. It's the fourth sonnet. O you tender ones, step now and then into the breath that takes no heed of you. Let it touch your cheeks, let it part as it touches your cheeks. It will quiver behind you, united again. O you who are blessed, O you who are whole, you who seem the beginning of hearts, bows for the arrows and targets of arrows, tear-stained, your smile shines more everlasting. Fear not suffering, its heaviness. Give it back to the weight of the earth. The mountains are heavy, heavy the oceans. Even the trees you planted as children grew too heavy. You cannot sustain them. But the breezes, the spaces. Rilke, he's just, I dig him. All right. I was on vacation. I was down at the sea and down at the ocean, Cape Cod. Talk about spaces. I think that's why we like to go to the sea. Just the space of the water and the space of the sky and the space of the innumerable pebbles of sand. And while I was there, I was looking at art of the sea, which was kind of fun because sometimes you've been at the sea, very recently at the beach, and now you're looking at scenes of the seashore, and some of them really, really get it. And then I picked up this little Everyman's book. It's a publisher, Everyman's book. They're little books. I wish I could bring it to you and show it to you. But it was called Poems of the Sea. And I said, So I opened it up, and the first poem I thought, this is a great poem. That's not the one I'm going to recite. But then I bought it, I brought it home, and discovered this wonderful poem by American poet, Sarah Teasdale. She lived from about 1870 to about 1930. And I was born in Missouri, lived in New York, and I don't know too much else about her, but I'm looking forward to finding out, and I'm glad her spirit will be with us here, because she wrote this wonderful poem called Sea Longing. It goes like this. 1,000 miles beyond this sun-drenched wall, somewhere the waves creep cool along the sand. The ebbing tide forsakes the listless land with that old murmur, long and musical. The windy waves mount up and curve and fall, and round the rocks the foam blows up like snow. Though I am inland far, I hear and know, for I was born the sea's eternal thrall. Oh, would that I were there, and over me the cold insistence of the tide would roll, quenching this burning thing men call the soul. Then with the ebbing, I should drift and be less than the smallest shell along the shoal, less than the seagulls calling to the sea. That was Sarah Teasdale. And now, Duty Ever Calls. I think Keats wrote an ode to duty, didn't he? I'm not sure, but anybody know? Doesn't matter. I have a duty to my poem, which God has inspired. And Anne is going to be the voice of God. So, if you want to join me here, I will do my best reciting. Oh, by the way, as the voice of God, you can, when I forget a line, you can...
I can deliver.
No. You can whisper it in my ear. Okay? Yeah,
I can
just
point
prompt.
to it.
Well, you'll be following.
Yes, I will.
Okay. So this is chapter 2. Moses has heard the voice of God. He's been at the bush. God is instructed in what's going to happen. But God still has a little bit more to say. And, of course, I'm left to wonder, as I'm writing this poem, how did this all go down? And this is what came up. It was late when they began, Moses and his wife Zipporah and their sons. Donkeys plodded beside them, laden, led by hand. The sun declined ahead of them. No ease could they expect on this toilsome journey. Moses was astonished how readily his wife had consented to accompany him with their sons, and how happily he agreed to her decision, not knowing how the Lord's great plan would unfold. She knew of his past, the terrible lot of the Israelites, how the household of Pharaoh had taken him in. He was a prince in her eyes, and his summoning by the Hebrews' God she understood as if it were a natural reckoning. Before they left, Moses had heard the Lord.
Go back to Egypt, for all the men who wanted to kill you are dead. This new word.
This new word of the Lord he could not ignore. He knew, as was promised, the Lord would be with them.
He heard again
He heard again the Lord's word
while walking.
while walking. His staff in hand, his oldest son Gershom was next to him.
When the Lord spoke, prodding.
When the Lord spoke, his son Gershom was next to him when the Lord spoke, prodding one of the donkeys.
His son had heard naught.
His son had heard naught.
When you return to Egypt, see that you do before Pharaoh all the wonders given by me into your powers. In his view?
In his view, the foothills near Mount Horeb lay ahead. Moses decided to encamp.
But I shall stiffen his heart to what I have said. He will not let my people go.
Lord, why? Thought Moses. He stopped as if in pain.
Then you shall say to Pharaoh, thus says the Lord.
Gershom held onto his father's hand when he saw him lean against his staff.
The word of the Lord continued.
The word of the Lord continued in Moses' mind.
Israel is my firstborn son.
The hand of his son Moses pressed. He must be kind, no matter how fearful the Lord's command.
And I have said to you, let my son go, that he may worship me. Yet you refuse. Now I will slay your firstborn son.
Oh, woe, thought Moses, unable to see, choose, hearing the Lord describe
What would unfold in time?
what would unfold in time.
What is it, Father?
What is it, Father? What are you seeing? We
need to stop for the
We
night.
need to stop for the night. I'm now very tired.
Let us stop then here.
Let us stop then here. Thank you. Thank you.
What do you think? Do we need a little break, or shall we go right on? We have a smaller group. I think so. Jim, did you want to do anything? Yeah. No need. I lost my. Oh. Think about it. While you're thinking,
He's really good at Chaucer.
oh, we're ready for the Miller's Tale. While you debate that, Meg, why don't we welcome you up?
Me?
Yes.
I couldn't find a poem.
Okay, well,
Carol.
Carol, shall we?
I just learned about this 20 minutes ago,
Well, we will be totally supportive.
and I just brought two of my favorite poems. Oh, great.
Good.
Very good.
Yeah. This is very comfortable.
Yeah. This first one was read when Charles and I were married, and it was read when my son Noah was married, and when I did the service for Matthew and his new wife, it was also read. And it was written as a love poem from E.B. White to K. White. It's called Natural History. The spider, dropping down from twig, unfolds a plan of his devising, a thin, premeditated rig to use in rising. And all that journey down through space, in cool descent and loyal-hearted, she spun a ladder to the place from which she started. Thus I gone forth as spiders do, in spider's web, a truth discerning. Attach one silken thread to you for my returning. And I hope to come back. I have some poems I've written. Yes, I have one more, but they were all winter poems. This one is not. This is called The Summer Day. It's not mine. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean. The one who has flung herself out of the grass. The one who was eating sugar out of my hand. Who was moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down. Who was gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't exactly know what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last, and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your wild and precious life? That's Mary Oliver asking the questions.
Anyone else?
Yourself.
No, right. Doesn't she have lots of beauties, huh? Yeah. So sometimes we do wonder, why bother? Right? The train's already left the station from the moment you were born. Nevertheless, better to be happy that it's still running and get on board and keep on dancing for all you're worth, assuming you can still move. Nevertheless, the journey's the thing, they say, so you might as well keep on searching for that wonderful Wizard of Oz somewhere over the next rainbow. Right? See it? That little thing was called the Optimist. This little thing I call anger management therapy. Or the old man fight song, or portrait of the artist as an old fool. Call it whatever you like. The thing is, I woke up one morning in a real bad mood. Therapist told me to keep a journal, write it all down, so I did what she told me. And this is what I said. After 75 years of make-believe, I'm getting real tired of playing nice. Right? Spent this long, overextended childhood trying to please everyone. Like so many well-bred, well-behaved young men paved by the well-meaning intentions of good old mommy and daddy. Despite digging the primitive truth, boys just want to be tough and scary, and girls just want to be nice and pretty. So I've had it now. No more playing games. No more endless charades. The next fool who tries to unscrew my cap better tread very carefully, 'cause this old can of worms has a lifetime build-up of contents under pressure, backed up and ready to blow. So why don't you give me one more little whack then, Yash, or in fact, just one more unkind word will do, and let the fun begin? After which the therapist said, "Sorry, old Bob, your time's up. Maybe next time. Go in peace." And sotto voce under her breath she said, "And good luck with that kid." All right. Here's another little tidbit on playing it safe. I always wanted to have it both ways, you know. But everyone who knows is always telling you, you can't, can you? And sooner or later, God help you, you're going to have to take a stand. And stand up and be a man. No wonder nobody wants to grow up. This, though, was from the memorial service of an old friend. What more can I say? What do you all want me to tell you? What do you want me to say? Don't you think I too want to believe all the words we hear every Sunday? That there's a reason and purpose for everything. That every time I lose someone else that I love, that they simply left this imperfect world behind to be with the Lord above, while all around it seems the bad live on and the good die young. I can do that. You want me to sing hallelujah? I can do that too. But still I wonder now, with every passing second, what this old world is coming to. God help us all. So, the last thing I want to share with you is the first poem I ever got published. Long time ago. I was young, 19, 20, 21. The writing's a bit overblown, sophomoric, melodramatic, violent, and awkward. But given the dangerous nature of our current state of affairs and its potential for warmongering horrific accidental disaster, I thought it might still have more than some relevance or worth now. I wrote this in the middle of the horror of Vietnam. I called it collateral damage, solitary confinement, dead man walking, PTSD, call it whatever the hell you like. It's pretty dark. So if you're not in the mood, and I'm not kidding, for another downer, leave now and it's no problem. I'm serious. Okay. And given recent events, this is certainly for John. Thoughts can kill. But the killing fields remain. Tight ropes of memory split under the heavy step of some orphaned, who knows how old kid I saw, shivering, shaking, and stumbling around those beyond brutal burial grounds. A kid already, with that 1,000-yard stare, shell-shocked, numb, bombed out hair, feet picking their painful path through sharp spokes of soldiers' bones already petrified in stone-cold tears, long torn dreams pulled out of their sockets, windows sealed tight in this veteran child's new nursery. Walk among the mountains, walk among the valleys, stagger down the ghostly swamps, drown in the flooded, swollen plains. The sound of sorrow is a dead wind, knowing the secrets of old homesteads, chimneys of a life's passage, shuffling feet of a war-torn age, threading their mournful way through this theater of the absurd, framed by endless scarred and blackened sky, whose incinerated morning dawns and dreams lie stillborn, frozen forever in time, splattered across the killing fields of human invention. To witness such horrific nightmares, slaughters of the innocent, slow walking purgatory, this lost little kid, limping along among the leftover leaves, hobbling alone among the vultures, cocooned in solitary, between being and nothingness, leaves no words left do any justice. All that remains is numb, soundless, dirge of enveloping deadly silence, encasing my heart in locked-tight shock, suffocating stillness. All that was ever life, choked in chains, keening melodies mangled on the bloody crimson plains, lost among the leaves, dead among the gasping birds. God help us all. Thanks. So what now?
It was very uplifting,
Okay.
but it was really strong. Yeah.
So what do you all want to do now as a group? Does anyone else want to read, talk,
I thought
take
of
a break?
I thought of when you said in the previous poem about you want it all, you can't have it, or something.
From tonight?
Yeah, your poem.
Okay. Find it for me a little more.
Well, you had this query that you were upset, you can't have it all, and I just immediately came into mind Edna St. Vincent Millay's little couplet.
You remember it?
Sure. My candle burns at both ends, it shall not last the night. But my foes and my friends, it gives a lovely light.
Enjoy what you got. Yeah. Well, if that's it.
And I just want to remind anybody who's watching this that we need poets or non-poets who like poems and want to share their favorite poems. So we want to keep this going in this age of Trump.
And anything at all that anyone wants to share, poetic or a story, is welcome too, but let's definitely thank Macy for recording all this and giving us some archival meaning. As they say in too many meetings of other sorts, do what you can, don't worry about what you can't, and keep on coming back.
Amen.